For my money, Jasmine Crockett is one of the sharpest politicians and commentators in the United States today. Here she is, responding to the question of whether calling right-wingers Nazis and fascists provokes the violence. Note that she doesn't have any silly calls for unity and we all need to come together and all that silly nonsense.
Contributed to this, or are those critics wrong?
They're absolutely wrong. Here's the reality. They don't want American people to know any forms of history. We know that there was news out today about the president going after yet more historical information. The reality is that when we look at what is taking place, when you look at an authoritarian, and what they do is they try to basically say, you have to do whatever the government says, even if that means that your personal freedoms are going to be subjected to whatever we say, whether it's right or wrong. Right now, our personal freedoms are constantly under attack. Your first question was specifically about our First Amendment rights. Right now, it is about doing whatever the man who currently occupies the White House wants done. There should not be anyone that faces consequences because they actually know history, and they are trying to prevent even more disaster and harm from coming to the American people. What crosses the line is when you say things, especially on air, like, yes, euthanize homeless people, that is a problem. Or when you're having a rally and you start talking about beating up people and causing physical harm, or when you joke about what happened to Mr. Pelosi when he was attacked, or when you decide that there are over 1,500 people that were charged and convicted, whether it was in a trial or they signed plea agreements after beating law enforcement and tearing apart our Capitol, and you decide to let them go free. It seems like violence is okay if it is only because the man that is currently serving in the White House asked for it, even when we look at ICE officers and what they are doing to those that are accused of violating our law. That is what they think violence is okay for. But then when it ends up happening and it comes back on the other side, they claim that it's because of the Democrats and them using words like fascist.
Congresswoman, we've heard the president say that he basically thinks that the political violence problem on the left is worse than the political violence problem on the right. Do you think the political violence problem on the right is worse than what it is on the left?
I think it's a false comparison in the first place, and I think we should have a leader that is responsible enough to denounce political violence, period. It's not about where it comes from. It's about the fact that it is happening. It is never okay. It is never okay if it happens on the left. It is never okay if it happens on the right. And if we had someone that knew how to be an adult in the room, he would say that. But when we look at it, please tell me who is fostering this gun culture, right? I mean, the reality is that the average person on the left probably couldn't make a shot from 200 yards because they haven't been playing with assault rifles since they were a little kid. Like, that is just the reality of how people on the left typically work. And if we believe that political violence is a problem in this country, if we believe that our children on campuses, just because they want to go out and have a day of free speech on campus, may be subjected to this kind of violence, then maybe we need to start talking about legislation that will keep these types of weapons out of certain people's hands. Now, whether or not this gentleman would have qualified under any type of laws that many of the Democrats have proposed, I don't know. But the reality is that they typically want to say it's somebody with a mental health problem. Well, maybe red flag laws would be helpful in those circumstances. The reality is that we are elected to, at a very minimum, try to do mitigation and try to make sure that everyone, whether they are left, right, in the middle, or non-affiliated, can express their views without this idea that they may be subjected to violence, which a lot of it could actually be prevented.
All right, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, I really appreciate you coming on.